Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Now, today, Alberta suffered yet another credit rating downgrade. Standard & Poor's said the downgrade comes partly from depressed oil revenues, but very worryingly said, quote, the province's fiscal response so far has not meaningfully counterbalanced this external shock. Now, this is after the Minister of Finance traveled to New York to try to convince these very agencies of Alberta's creditworthiness. That sounds like that was a big waste of time and money. To the Minister of Finance, how much will this credit rating downgrade cost Albertans?
Deputy Premier.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker, and I'm sure the Minister of Finance will be happy to answer all the remaining ones. But I want to acknowledge a little bit of history here, Mr. Speaker. Members opposite are asking us to turn back the clock and respond to the downturn by firing teachers and nurses and cutting back on investments, Mr. Speaker. This is not going to support diversification. Let's also remember what happened back in time. 1986, 1990, 1992, all of those years under Conservative reign, unfortunately, we had a downgrade. Why, Mr. Speaker? Because the price of oil went down.
For supplemental.
Mr. Speaker, while Rose is over there, I am over here. So the canned response to that question. Now, Mr. Speaker, this irresponsible budget. Thank you.
Member, please proceed.
Thank you. Now, there is a middle way. Because your budget accumulates such astonishing levels of debt so quickly, and you have virtually guaranteed future frontline service cuts or future tax increases or both. Quoting again from Standard & Poor's, the downgrade reflects, quote, Alberta's very weak budgetary performance and high increasing debt burden, the words of Standard & Poor's. In short, the NDP are risking the future of the province so they don't have to make tough choices today. To the same minister, have you calculated the projected
Thank you, honourable member. Which minister? Minister of Finance?
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. With regard to the borrowing costs, we know that they have increased relative to the two large provinces that have lower borrowing costs. Over the last 2 years, not the last year, over the last 2 years, those borrowing costs have increased, and that aligns with the dramatic drop in the price of oil. But our borrowing costs are still, as an amount of the budget we put into debt servicing, far below BC, far below Ontario. As a percentage, we're doing quite well.
Second supplemental.
We won't be for long, and if we can comparing ourselves to Ontario, that's not a good thing, Mr. Speaker. I'm going to ask a very simple question of the Minister of Finance. Standard & Poor's says it is time for a sales tax in Alberta, or the province will face future downgrades. To the Minister of Finance, do you agree with Standard & Poor's, and will you bring in a sales tax at any point in this term of government or next?
What I'll agree with is I'll stand with Albertans. We will bring forward the work of the Alberta Jobs Plan. We will invest in this province. We'll diversify this province, and we will create a better economy going forward than that party did, and that party wants to wreck.